Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about how to transform your health in just 14 days. It's called the 14 Days No Sugar Challenge. This is one of the most effective programs that I've ever found to reset your metabolism, get rid of excess body fat, reduce inflammation and pain, improve sleep, increase energy, help with focus and concentration, improve skin, reduce stress and anxiety, and much, much more. In fact, when you restrict sugar for 14 days, it can be life-changing. It really can. And so let me explain why this works so well and what happens when you restrict sugar. First, we have to understand what is sugar. Sugar is a carbohydrate. Now, carbohydrates are made up of 3 different types of molecules. You have starches, fibers, and sugars. Starches are long chains of sugars which break down into sugar. So, if you consume starch, eventually it breaks down into sugar. Fiber does not break down into sugar, but all sugar, whether it's from starch or fiber, eventually breaks down into the same molecule, which is glucose. So, when you consume sugar or starch, it gets broken down into glucose. Glucose is then absorbed into your blood. And the hormone that regulates that absorption into the cell is insulin. Insulin is released from the pancreas. So when you eat carbs, that triggers insulin release. Insulin takes the glucose out of the blood and puts it into the cells. That's normally a good thing, and you would think, hey, that's great. We need that to make energy, right? Well, yes, but only if you're using it. If you're not using the glucose, it gets stored as glycogen. Glycogen is like a sponge filled with water. So when you fill up the sponge with water, the sponge expands. That's exactly what happens when you consume too many carbs. The cells expand because they're filled with this glycogen and water. And so when you overeat, when you eat more carbs than you can use, those cells swell up. What happens when you start restricting the carbs and the sugar? Those cells shrink back down to their normal size. Now this happens in every cell of your body, especially in your liver. When you have a lot of sugar in your liver, that makes your liver bigger. And this is what happens in people who have fatty liver disease. They have a lot of sugar in their liver. The liver swells up, it becomes inflamed, it becomes damaged. Eventually, you develop scar tissue in the liver. So when you remove the sugar, the liver actually starts to shrink back down and it begins to heal. This is why people report healing from fatty liver disease when they do something like a 14-day no-sugar fast. Now there's other things that happen. You see, our cells have a little power plant in them called the mitochondria. The mitochondria produces energy for the cell. And when you consume sugar, that glucose goes into the mitochondria and it shuts down the production of energy. It stops making ATP. And so now you have a situation where you don't have energy, yet you have this abundance of glucose, but you can't turn that glucose into energy. You also have insulin resistance because the cell is getting flooded with sugar and insulin. So now you can't even get the glucose out of the blood because the insulin is not working. So you have all this sugar in the blood, you have all this sugar in the cells. What happens when you restrict that sugar? The mitochondria turns back on and it starts producing energy. Now all of a sudden you have ketones that are being produced because you're not consuming any more sugar. You're converting fat into ketones and now your cells are starting to use this new energy source. You're feeling better, your brain feels sharper, your body feels better. The next thing that happens is this. When you cut out the sugar, you cut out a major inflammatory food. So inflammation goes down, pain goes down, joint pain goes down, skin problems clear up, infections go away, you start to heal. This is why I am recommending that everybody do at least one 14-day no sugar fast per year. In fact, if you can do it twice a year, that would be even better. So here's how it works. For 14 days, you're going to restrict all added sugar. This includes high fructose corn syrup. It includes agave nectar, coconut sugar, maple syrup, stevia, monk fruit, erythritol, xylitol, all of these sugar alcohols, all of these artificial sweeteners, all of these sodas, juices, energy drinks, sports drinks, candy, snacks, cakes, cookies, pies, crackers, waffles, pancakes, muffins, sodas, pop, tea, coffee drinks, dressings, sauces, condiments, ice cream, popsicles, jam, jelly, honey. Just to name a few. You're going to want to read the ingredients in everything that you consume because some of these hidden sugars can sneak up on you. So always read the ingredients. Okay, so the first 7 days you're gonna start cutting all that stuff out. After the first 7 days, you'll start to feel better. Your energy will improve. You'll lose weight. You'll notice your clothes fitting better. You'll have reduced appetite. You'll have less cravings for sugar. You'll be sleeping better. Your mind will be sharper. Your mood will be elevated. You'll be less stressed and anxious. Inflammation will be going down. After the second week, after the 14 days, you'll continue to feel good. You'll continue to lose weight. You'll continue to have reduced inflammation. But you'll also start to notice your skin looking better, maybe some acne clearing up. You might notice that your libido is improving. Your sex drive is improving. You'll have improved digestion. You'll have improved immune function. Your endurance while exercising will be much better. You'll be able to walk longer, run longer, bike longer. You'll be able to work out longer without getting tired. Now, I want to emphasize that this plan is very simple. You just avoid all sugar, all right, but it's also very challenging. Why? Because sugar is addictive. It's in almost every single food in the grocery store. It's in restaurants. It's in fast food. It's everywhere. And so you have to commit to it for 14 days. Now it is easier today than it was in the past because now we have more options for low-carb, keto-friendly foods, keto-friendly snacks, keto-friendly desserts. There's a lot of options available today. The next point is that this is not a diet. This is a lifestyle change. And what I recommend is that you keep the weight off and you keep the inflammation down and you keep your blood sugar normalized by continuing to restrict sugar as much as possible. I don't recommend going back on the sugar because once you start eating the sugar again, it will spike your blood sugar. It'll trigger insulin release. All those cells that shrunk back down will start to expand again. You'll start to gain weight. The liver will start to become fatty again. You'll start to feel sluggish again. So it's important to learn how to live without this stuff. You know, we've been programmed to believe that carbs are good for us. We need the carbs. We've been told this our entire lives. And I'm here to tell you, no, you don't need the carbs. Carbs are not essential. Fat is essential. Protein is essential. But the carbs, you don't need them. In fact, you're probably better off without them. So try this 14-day no sugar fast. Do it today, start today, drop all the sugar. See what happens after 14 days. I promise you, you won't regret it. Hey, before you go, if you're benefiting from any of this content, please share your success story in the comments.